Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Trail Network podcast. Today, I sit down with Rachel Entrekin. She is no stranger to any of you in the ultra running world. She's got an absolute list of successes in the last few years, especially. I believe she's on a 16 race winning streak right now, most recently with High Lonesome, where she set a course record. Cocodona 250, where she also set a course record, beat her own time from 2024 by 10 hours. No big deal. She's also an amazing ambassador of the sport. She's got an incredible perspective on racing, on just not letting herself get bogged down by results and really staying present in the experiences and in what she's learned from them. I really enjoyed chatting with her. I feel like it's really important for us all to sort of be reminded of the things that we get out of running and the gifts that it gives us in life beyond just results. And I think Rachel is an incredible example of that, and someone who's just getting started in the sport, but already has such a wealth of knowledge from her own life and running career. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. All right, welcome everybody to the Trail Network podcast. I'm Hilary Yang, your host for today, and I'm joined by a very special guest who I've been wanting to get on the podcast for quite a long time, Rachel Entrekin. How's it going, Rachel?
Yay.
Yay.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Where are you right now?
I am in Conifer, Colorado.
Mm.
So I was just outside sanding the deck. So exciting stuff is happening here in post race week.
I love that. You're just like, I'm going to channel all of my running energy into like home projects.
Yeah, so far. So I've never seen Star Wars before. And so yesterday, I think we watched two of the three like originals. And then watched the other one like the day before. So now I've seen episodes 4 through 6, which is exciting. I did not realize where all those memes came from, and now I know.
Welcome to like, I don't know, the 21st century.
I guess so. Yeah. Welcome to 1970s, certainly.
That's amazing. If I'm honest, I haven't seen all the Star Wars either. I've seen bits and pieces of them over the years, but like I grew up homeschooled under a rock, and so I'm
Nice.
missing a ton of pop culture references. So I actually feel your pain there.
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty conservative Christian household, and we just never watched Star Wars or Star Trek or like any of those animated shows that everybody like. South Park, I guess, which is funny because now I like live pretty close to South Park.
You're like, now I can watch whatever I want.
I know I'm an adult. I can decide when Christmas is, and I can watch whatever I want. So,
I'm actually really curious. I don't know about your upbringing, but it sounds kind of similar to mine. I grew up in sort of a culty conservative Christian home. But
yeah,
that's a fun place to start because I think, as an adult, I find a lot of my like adult decisions and mindset are informed by my childhood, whether that's in a good way or a bad way. But like, tell me a little bit just about sort of growing up and that, like, I guess that how that segued into your life.
yeah. Our upbringing is probably pretty similar. I also grew up in a really conservative religious household. I don't know. I think for better, and I don't mean to crap talk my upbringing. I think my parents did a fantastic job. I definitely think they did like the best that they could, and I think I turned out fine. But there were definitely a lot of things that I disagreed with when it came to certain aspects of my upbringing, particularly in like the religious sense. And in college, after like a pretty rough first year, where I had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way, I started kind of undoing a lot of those kind of cemented ideologies of like, wait, it actually doesn't mean I'm a bad person if I don't believe the things that my parents believed
Mm-hmm.
in. And yeah, definitely one of those things that I grew up with was that women are always kind of the second
Mm-hmm.
in command. Like we're always supposed to kind of be subservient and, do certain things. We have certain tasks that we do and certain things around the house. And it's been actually pretty funny because my brother and I, who I love dearly, we are, and I don't want to say like opposite the gender roles, but like, my brother never really liked school, and my brother was like decent at sports, but didn't really continue with them. And, he lives, actually, he just sold his house and is moving, which is sick. But, he lives pretty close to my family. And then I like went off and got my doctorate and moved across the country and do all these like athletic endeavors. So pretty funny. I think it's been helpful maybe for my parents to kind of be like, well, you don't need to give people identities just because that's what you're familiar with. Like people can be anything that they want to
Mm.
be, if you give them the space to do it. Because for a while, I almost felt bad with how independent I was and how athletic I was when compared to what my parents maybe expected or others expected. So yeah, it's been fun to undo. I did a lot of work in college undoing all of those ideologies, and it's been fun to kind of get to the point where I am now because it has made me, I think, pretty accepting of like, well, if you want to do this, like, sick, let me know how I can support you,
Hmm.
which I think is a nice place to be in. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting as an adult. Like, I think we've had similar paths to sort of figuring out who we are as humans. And I have a lot of love for my parents. I have a lot of respect for them. And I think they did, like you said, the very best they could with the tools they had and sort of the lane they were in. And I think it's an interesting thing to sort of come to terms with and just like how that shapes your life. Do you feel like when you were a teenager, could you feel yourself sort of pushing against the constraints that were on you? Like, how did that come out?
I think certainly, I mean, I joke that I don't want to have kids because I don't want to raise me. I was good at school. And so that was never something that my parents really had to get on to me for, like they did my brother. But I definitely was a rascal, I'd say. Like I would, oh God, I hope my parents are listening to this. Don't show my parents this podcast. But I would like take their car and like drive to my friends' places. And I was a bit of a rascal. I was always like going outside and getting just completely muddy and like tracking mud in the house and stuff. But I was good at school, and that was a big thing that my parents thought was really important. My mom was, I think, the first person in her family to go to college. And then my dad, he and his brother were, I think, the first to go to college, his older brother. So school was just something that was really important to my parents. And I just happened to be lucky that I was good at school and I enjoyed, like, I love a good project. So I liked school. It was fun to be good at it without trying a whole lot because that left a lot of energy to get up to hijinks. So yeah, I was a pretty, I don't know. I was a good kid in some ways, but I was pretty naughty in secret ways.
What do you think? Because that's like not the picture of the demure sort of young lady that you were supposed to become, you know? Do you think that
Yeah.
was just like innate in you? Like, I'm always curious. Like, I'm very different from my siblings. None of them run or have any interest in stuff I do. And so, what is it, do you think, that was always in you, compelling you to push yourself like this?
I think everybody wants to be unique, maybe. I certainly never, I mean, I am like probably nobody in my family with regards to the things that I find interesting. My family likes sports, but they don't necessarily revel in doing them. Like my parents were both really athletic in high school, but then kind of stopped once they got to college. And, they immediately wanted to start a family and kind of settle down. And I've always kind of joked that I have a roaming reflex like a dog does. Like I just want to like go. And I just want to see what's out there and I want to do it under my own power, particularly, which I think is, I'm fortunate that I got into running because it's a great way to see those like secret hidden places and then feel really accomplished and get to eat lots of fun snacks.
It's best, right?
But yeah, I don't, yeah. Oh man, I'm still on the Scandinavian. I came home from, I think it may have been Hard Rock weekend, which by the way, congrats. That was so cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, I came home from that weekend and I hadn't even run the race and I was like downing Scandinavian swimmers like it was going out of style.
You're like preloading. I'm preloading over here, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I had a race too. But yeah, I don't know what exactly. I assume it was probably just like somewhere deep in my genetic history is probably someone who is like this. It just skipped a couple generations and then finally I got those genes, maybe.
It's not probably the most common thing for like a family in Alabama, right? Like it's just not really a thing.
No, no, I mean my family had Cocodona this year really I think helped show my family what ultra running is. And last year too, I mean, with all the live stream that they're doing, I mean, we go out, and I've kind of said this on a podcast before, but we go out there, we're gone for 12 hours, we come back, we're like hideous and disgusting and maybe barfing and covered in cuts. And like, of course, if somebody I love was doing something that I thought was insane for a reason that I didn't understand, I would probably have some questions. But the ability of the live stream and all the technological advances that we've had has really made it so that I seem a lot less crazy to my friends and family, which is nice. Because yeah, I mean, it really is. I think it's so much fun, and I think you learn so much about yourself, and you learn so much about the world and your place in it when you're out there doing these races. So I'm glad that that's getting a little bit more of airtime, because it makes it so much more interesting to other people too.
It totally
For so
does.
long, I think ultra running, yeah, I mean, for so long, ultra running has been something that I think can be considered a very selfish endeavor. And maybe it still is. But when you're able to kind of share what it is that you're hoping for out there, even if somebody can't necessarily run, they can understand like that feeling, and you can kind of share that bond.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's special. I know even during Hard Rock, like I went back and looked at some of the live stream coverage, and then I realized that my dad was prolific in the YouTube chat for like a day and a half. And not only was he well versed in where I was and what was going on with my race and would chime in happily with like whatever comment all the time, but he also became familiar with how everyone else was doing. And when someone would ask for an update, he would respond with an update on like the field. And
that's
it
so
was, oh my
cool.
gosh, Billy and I were just dying reading some of these comments. And it's like, my dad lives in like British Columbia, does not run, has never run, like all this stuff. And he sounds like he's an ultra running expert if he didn't know better. And I'm just like,
My
it's kind of
dude,
cute.
I think we're the same person. My parents have done the same thing. I was on the phone with my mom yesterday, I think it was, and I was joking with her because both my parents sent me text messages after High Lonesome, and they were like, "Congrats on the CR! Like, is that your PB?" And like all these I'm like,
Like,
how
what?
do you know what these words are? And so when I was talking to my mom on the phone, I was asking her, and I was kind of like making a joke about how suddenly they've become like these ultra running super fans, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we've like done a lot of like they've dove straight in. Like they watched, I want to say like 17 hours of High
That's
Lonesome."
amazing.
And my mom set an alarm on her phone for like 4 a.m. to watch me finish because she thought that was what time I might be coming in. So it was like, holy crap, I've done it. I didn't think this was gonna happen, and we've done it.
Which is really kind
So
of special, I think, for not only like our families, but yeah, you're right. I think the live streams are this incredible gift because it does open up like not just, oh, you did this thing, but like when you watch it play out over hours, you really understand the
yeah,
scale of it and you really understand like, oh, like every single mountain and every, it's not just like I ran 100 miles on a road, flat, right? And I just think
yeah,
it's really cool for them to wrap their heads around. I was actually
yeah.
looking at your ultra sign up and we got into ultra running around the same time, like 20, well, actually, you might have started a bit before me, 2011. I started like 2012, but you
Okay.
were pretty young, right? Like 20, 21 years
Yeah.
old. When did you sort of discover, like, okay, not only do I like running, but like I like running longer things, and that's a thing? Because for me, I didn't even know people did that. I didn't grow up with that at all.
I always really liked running a lot. It just wasn't necessarily all at one time. So my ultra sign-up doesn't really show every race that I've ever done, but there's all my medals and like a little thing behind me. I did a million marathons, and I would do probably like 2 to 4 marathons a month. And that was something that I did for probably about a year and a half until I finally kind of discovered I can just run longer, and that kind of scratches the same itch. But I did like the 50Ks. I was really into 50Ks for probably about a year, maybe before they finally convinced me to do a 50 miler. And then it's funny, I had an injury during my second 50 miler. I wound up actually tearing my meniscus and having to have it surgically repaired.
Ooh, that's young for that too. You're like 22
Yeah,
years old.
I know, and it's weird because I still don't know what happened, but I was at mile probably like 30 of a 50 miler, and bless this guy, his name was Brian Samble. I will never forget. He walked it in with me, and it was so nice because like I don't even think I had a headlamp because I just assumed I would be done. And he made sure I got there safely, which was very kind of him. And then yeah, I tried to get back into running, and I just couldn't go more than like a mile. So finally, yeah, it was a meniscus tear. But now I don't even remember which knee it was. So good
Really?
job to the surgeon. Yeah. But it kind of scared me off a little bit of some of the longer things. And that's
Hmm.
when I really kind of dove into the fixed time world. I started doing 6 hours and 12 hours. And then I kind of slowly built my confidence back up and signed up for Delano 12 hour and just decided, I'm tired of being scared of this. If, you know, I think I'm fine. And if something happens, and that's just bad luck, it's not me. And I did, I think, 72 or 73 miles in that 12 hour, which was pretty sick. And that was my first out. I think that might have been my first outright win was at that race. So it was a really cool comeback, certainly. But yeah, I don't know. I guess probably, I don't even know when that was. That might have been like 2014.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think it was around that.
Quick break to thank Osprey for sponsoring this episode of the show. Osprey has been a leading maker of premium outdoor backpacks and bags for over 50 years. There are many reasons I turned to Osprey, but one is because of their pillars of sourcing sustainable materials. By incorporating recycled and Blue Sign approved materials into their products, they're helping to keep harmful chemicals out of our environment. Osprey has eliminated PFAS-based durable water repellent in 100% of their textile products, and as of fall 2024, 100% of Osprey's products have 100% recycled content in the lining fabric, and 99% of Osprey's products have 100% recycled content in the main body fabric. Osprey continues to reduce environmental impacts and produce more sustainably designed products every year. This is the type of company I want to support, and I know you do too. Learn more at osprey.com. Now back to the show.
As you were getting into these longer distances, what was it like? I know for kind of all of us who are in the ultra running world, these things are transformative, right? Like they really do have such an impact. And you're sort of like, in school, finishing school, figuring out who you are as a human. Like, how did ultra running sort of play into like you figuring out who you wanted to be and forming your like adult identity?
Well, I think for me, it just gave me time to think about who I wanted to be, and I think that that's a really important part of figuring out your what you want out of life and what you want your future to look like is you have to actually sit there and you have to actually think about it. And you have to ask yourself tough questions and then wait around for the answers. And when you're running these races, sometimes there's nothing else to do than think about those things. So for me, I think running was all it is very therapeutic for me. There's times when I can just shut my brain off and not think about anything, and that's incredible in and of itself. But there are other times when I ask myself really tough questions. I mean, I've analyzed relationships I've had with people. I've analyzed what, parts of myself that I don't like and why I'm hanging on to those parts of myself on runs. I've broken down in tears with friends, like over just out of seemingly nowhere, because I'm sitting back there thinking about topics that are really challenging. So yeah, I mean, it growing up, I think I'm really lucky that I discovered running at such a young age because it's provided me so much time to spend with myself.
Hmm.
And if you don't like spending time with yourself, you're probably not going to be altogether super interested in ultra running because usually it's just you, especially on trails. So,
I think it's so like, I mean, I wish more young women, I hope more young women have the example of seeing people like us, other women in the sport doing this because I certainly, like, I didn't grow up with it. And I feel like it's such an incredible thing to have in your toolkit as you're becoming like an adult and even figuring out your relationship with your body and figuring out what you're capable of and all these things, right? And it's like something I'm very passionate about is seeing more like younger teenagers, young women sort of discover this like at the age you did because it really will change your entire life trajectory, you know?
yeah, I've come to the realization that representation I think is very important. I didn't have a whole lot of I think maybe Kelly Fegis, who's a South Carolina kind of fixed time 100-mile lady. And then Karen Jackson. Those were my kind of two when I first
Mm.
got started. Those were the only two women that I really knew that got out there like bucking heads with the guys, and like over time there that circle expanded and I was able to see kind of more and more women. But I mean I do remember showing up to races and being like, cool, I'm one of 5 women, like, all right. So yeah, I mean it's been interesting as my kind of popularity and my like name recognition has gotten bigger to be like, holy crap, like now I'm the person that people are coming up to and being like, oh yeah, I love watching you run. Like it's so inspiring. And that's awesome. I mean, I think that's kind of what, I don't know if it's what I've been like hoping for necessarily, but I mean, to inspire other people to do things that are hard and to have kind of any amount of the journey that I've had that running has given me is really cool, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many like ways that I want to take this conversation, but it just while we're sort of thinking about the idea of like women and representation and all that, maybe we touch on High Lonesome since that is sort of your most recent experience. But also,
Yeah.
and I raced a couple years ago and had, I think, a similar experience to you, where it's just sort of wild to be around so many women, right? And like High
Yeah.
Lonesome,
It was
for those of you who
awesome.
don't know, you probably do, is a 50% female participation rate. They really do an incredible job of making sure women are represented. So it's very exciting to stand on a start line, to be out there in a field that has so many women. And if anything, it sort of is a contrast to all these other races, like even Hard Rock with like 21% women. It's like very noticeable that there's no women around, right? And so, yeah, just
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about racing High Lonesome, why it's a special race, and also just like being around all these other women that are also pushing themselves like that.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So there's an out and back section that goes from St. Elmo, the old town of St. Elmo, over to Cottonwood and back. And I love a good out and back during races because I do tend to be not necessarily in a pack of people. So sometimes I can spend the entire race by myself. So an out and back is a good opportunity to like, you can be strategic about it or you can just be like stoked to see everybody. But
A little bit of both.
I think a little bit of both, a little bit of
Yeah,
both. Yeah. Oh crap, Kareth is right there.
totally.
But
Nothing wrong with being
yeah,
stoked and also being like, all right, gotta move.
yeah, but yeah, I thought it was so cool that every other person was a woman. Like it was such a breath of fresh air to see, like that's my gender, and like that's so cool that we're getting after it. And I think it is a little frustrating sometimes to have so little of a representation. And I know that, sociologically and stuff, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why women aren't in a position to sign up for races as often as men are. But I mean, to High Lonesome's credit, if you give them space, it will get filled. So
Hmm.
if if a race company decides that, and that's what I respect so much about the RDs of High Lonesome is they decided that that was important to them, and it has only made it more incredible because they also do a lot with trying to get like historically underrepresented folks
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
race, like adaptive athletes. They had a guy who was I think he was a above the knee amputee attempted a couple of years ago, and like
Yeah,
that's incredible
so
because if you
cool.
want to talk about people, right, like if you want to talk about people who have no role models within the sport, like now they've given them a platform to inspire people who look like
Hmm.
them. So I mean, if you're talking about BIPOC, if you're talking about LGBT communities, like here's a race that is doing that for you, and in my opinion, is one of the top courses in the country.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a blah race and
No, it's beautiful.
somewhere
It's
not
incredible.
pretty beautiful, and it's tough and like it's got such a great community aspect too. So yeah, that was a huge. I loved how much they emphasized the like diversity or like they're inspiring diversity to enter into the sport. So yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I loved that aspect.
Well, and
I
it's
thought it was awesome.
it's interesting because I think it really works for them. I don't think we could do it at every race because realistically, there is still way more, the demand is way more higher on the men's side. But I think it's really cool when a race like High Lonesome, like they can choose to be anything they want, and they've chosen to sort of be this beacon and be a place where women do have more of the opportunity, or underrepresented athletes have more opportunity. And I think that's really, really incredible. So, yeah, I mean, when I was out
Yeah.
there, I was in a sense, it was almost weird because I'm just not used to being around other women. And I remember saying to Billy, I'm like, I don't know what place I'm in. I'm sort of overwhelmed. Like, there's women everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
really cool, but also like made me realize just how different the experience was.
Well, it's a really nice opportunity for the women's field to be pretty strong, I
Hmm.
think, too.
Yeah.
And that is often that's often missing in races is, you might have 2 or 3 ladies that can compete up at the pointy end. But, I think at this race it was a pretty stout women's field. So I was excited to have a little bit more of like and I think the longer the race is, the more equal the playing ground is, even between men and women.
Hmm.
But it was nice to be like, okay, this is actually an equal play. Like, this is an equal playing ground. Like, I'm not just competing against like 10 other women and like 90 dudes. I'm actually competing against like 50-50.
Totally.
So it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah. No, it's so cool. I mean, I think that's a good segue into the sort of 200 milers because that is a playing field where we do see more, like you're usually up on the podium overall or pretty close to the podium overall. And we see that play out a lot over these longer races. And it's something that I just love about it because there's like, I don't know, name another sport in the world where the longer it gets, the more women are sort of like at the front with the men, and there's like way less of a gap. Like honestly,
Yeah.
it's sort of unique.
I mean, to be fair though, I don't know if there can be another sport. Like, I guess cycling maybe, but I think like if you're looking at basketball or whatever, there's a finite end
Hmm.
to the playing time. And with running, I mean, the cool thing about it is that we determine our own finite ends.
Yeah, right.
So
Well, and that's what
yeah,
sort of like I think honestly, like Courtney's win at Moab, when she won outright, sort of put ultra running on the map in a different way for a lot of people. Like a lot of people in my life were all of a sudden talking about it. Like she's on Joe Rogan, blah blah blah. Like, but just the idea that like I remember him saying to her, like, wait, you won the race, you went back to your hotel, you had a shower, you slept, and then you come back to the finish line to watch the first place guy finish. Like what? Like
yeah, wild.
um
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
which is just cool. And I think that is a really cool thing about where we are in the sport is that there's still a lot of these, like you could have this wild race like that where someone just takes it and runs away with it and does something where you just didn't think it was possible. And to be honest, that was you at Cocodona this year with 10 years off the course record that you set. But like,
Yeah,
you can't go into a race like that and sort of be like, this is my goal because anything can happen in 200 miles, right?
anything can happen. Yeah. And I even take that to 100-mile distances too.
Mhm.
During that out and back section I was talking about before, I was, I was in the lead and I turn around and within 10 minutes I see 4 ladies and I'm like,
They're
okay,
not
like
far.
this is still a race. Like I cannot just phone this one in. And so, for the rest of the race, like I never find it super beneficial to ask for where other people are in the field, unless it's like I would ask, where's Kevin, my partner? But I'm not racing Kevin necessarily.
Depending
But
on the day.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But I never really find it beneficial to find out that information or even like how close the next person is to me,
Hmm.
because I can only really do the best that I can.
Right.
Or I didn't make any assumptions about the course record. I didn't do anything about my placement until probably I was like at the last aid station when it's like, okay, I probably got this, and now I just need to figure out like how do I want to finish? Like, is there any? Because it's 7.5 miles away from the finish line,
Hmm.
so at that last aid station, so you could still kind of you can mess it up
Right.
certainly, but like you're close. So as long as you're doing okay, you're probably gonna you know keep the position that you're in and just fine tune some stuff. But yeah, I think really that's expounded in a 200-mile race because
Yeah.
if you have a rough time starting at mile 30, I mean, I don't know. If you have a rough time at maybe like 60, let's do like mile 60. You can get to the finish line of a 100-miler because you only have 40 miles left, and but if you get and 60 miles is a long way. So if
Hmm.
you get to mile 60 of a 200 mile, you have 140 miles left to suffer or like figure it out or problem solve or something. So it definitely makes it a little bit more interesting. There's so much more time for things to be unexpected.
Yeah, there totally is. And I mean, I think you have to be constantly problem solving and just like all the things. But yeah, you're right. Like a 100 miler, especially the way that we're running them now, there isn't that much room for error. And you end up winning new course record 21:56. pretty great. But like Rachel
Yeah,
and
I was happy.
Kareth, like Kareth in second and Rachel Lemke in third, like yeah, you had a gap on them, like what, an hour and a half or something like that. But like you said, that could easily be eaten up if you were to take a fall or something happens. And they were really close
Exactly.
together. So, you can't there's no just sort of like letting your foot off the gas at all in these races. And it is fascinating where we are in the sport.
Yeah, agreed. It makes it a lot harder though. But or I guess more physically demanding. It certainly makes it more physically demanding. The last couple races that I've done, I've noticed I've kind of started the race with my foot on the gas, just
Mm.
kind of immediately. Like Cocodona was a pretty fast start this year, and High Lonesome I felt like was a pretty fast start too.
Cocodona was wild.
Cocodona was freaking fast.
Everyone was running
Yeah,
it like it was a 100 miler. Like the aid stations felt like it was like vest swap and
it was,
go.
yeah.
And I'm like, we're
Everybody was running it like it was a 50K.
yeah,
I
that's true.
thought, but yeah, it was insane for sure. Yeah, we're just I think there's so much more with the shirt technology nowadays, and like our packs are better and our nutrition science is better, and so we can now the only one of the big variables that's still left to play around with is like our own independent ability to run fast. So yeah, I don't know. It is certainly an interesting time in the sport. It only gets harder. It feels like, or it only gets faster.
And like, I think it's interesting too, because it's like, yeah, the technology's changed and stuff, and it's about how fast we can go. But that self-belief piece, if anything, that part only gets stronger and has to be so locked in because,
Yeah,
like even for a race like Cocodona, you weren't unknown anymore. Like you've sort of been able to scoot under the radar for a while, and now people know who you are, and you can't just show up and they're like, "Hi, Rachel, I see you." Like,
yeah.
um, and especially with Courtney racing and the excitement around that, like how do you kind of mentally stay locked into running your own day, because it's really easy to be impacted by what other people are doing instead of just believing that you can do it at your own pace.
Yeah. I've always found it beneficial to think more about racing the course instead of racing the start list. Because I can't control how other people's days are
Hmm.
going. The only thing I can control is how my day is going. And I know I've spent enough time with myself and I've run enough with myself to know, to at least have a vague idea. Cocodona kind of blew the pants off, maybe what I'm saying. But because I was like, yeah, I'd like to do sub 70. I think that's possible. But maybe I was just being too conservative. But yeah, I mean, I think the way to get out of kind of that negative headspace of expectations that other people set for you is to recognize that it's just that. I mean, signing up for Cocodona, knowing that Courtney was racing, it's like, well, everybody is maybe expecting the podium to look a certain way, but that doesn't mean that's how I can look at it. I'm gonna race the
Hmm.
course. I want to stay competitive, and in order to do that, I did have to. I assumed I'd be in second for a majority of the race. I didn't necessarily assume I'd stay there
Hmm.
because I know I tend to close pretty well. But I wanted to keep tabs on where people were so that I could keep myself within the competition to the best of my ability. But I found it helpful to set goals for races based off of things that are independent of performance. So like where I stand on the podium or where I stand in the rankings, because you could still have a really good day out there, and other people are having better days, and that doesn't mean your race was bad, or it doesn't mean that it's not something you should be
Hmm.
ashamed of. Like you finished the race, like you should be very proud of how you did. And so I try to before I go to a race, I try to be intentional with the goals that I set. Of like some of my goals at Cocodona were I wanted to improve my nutrition plan, and I wanted to have a better attitude at the finish line, and I wanted to decrease my dead time at crew stops, and I did all of those.
Hmm.
And so my Cocodona was a success regardless of my time because I hit all of the goals that I wanted to work on.
Which is really interesting, and I think such a like powerful tool that you have as far as the mental piece goes. And I think important too, because you've had quite a few successes in the last few years, right? Like I don't think you've lost a race in like 16 races. um,
Yeah, it's
which is
been
amazing.
interesting.
And at some point, I'm sure you're aware that like there'll be a race where it doesn't go as well. And so, but like it sounds like the way that you're approaching them isn't from this perspective of like winning's the only thing that matters, you know?
Yeah, because if somebody just has the best day ever all the time and wins everything, that's boring after a while. Like we don't want the same person to be up there all the time. So, I think obviously I've enjoyed this little string of victory. It's
But keep it
been
rolling.
it's been fun. Yeah, it's been fun. And I am I'll be excited for it to continue however long it does. But yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. I'm fully aware that this has an expiration date, whether it's, the next race I sign up for or it's, 10 races from now. I don't want that to be like a deal breaker for me. Like I still want to be able to enjoy the sport, even if I'm not as successful as I am currently. Cause yeah, I mean, as I get into these more competitive races, obviously, like I'm going to have things that I need to learn. I think I'm a little bit of like a big fish in a small pond sometimes. And that I think has been represented in my ultra sign up, but I've been challenging myself with harder races. Like I've done Cocodona now twice. I did High Lonesome. That was pretty competitive. Like I was pretty scared going into that race because Addie Bracey is terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's equal part luck, and obviously I've trained really hard to get these results. But yeah, I mean nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm being intentional with the goals that I'm setting, I should be good.
Well, and
I have it there.
yeah, right. Totally. Yeah. That helps. But I do think, and I love sort of your perspective on where you are now. And I mean, I think running is such a cool marker of so many things in our lives, and it's gonna change, and we're gonna have times where we can't dedicate the training or we can't commit to, where we are in the sport, but like that doesn't mean that we love it less. And it just becomes a sort of marker of like all these other parts of life, that are happening to us, which is really powerful.
I agree.
It's like a mirror, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. I've been saying that for like years. Me and my buddy Jake are just like, yeah, running is just a representation of how your life is going.
Yeah.
So if you're stressed out and you're not feeling good on runs, then you probably need to sit down and think, well, where in my life is that coming from? Because it's not coming from the sport. The sport is just an objective thing. It's something within your life that's causing you to like get all this anxiety around this thing that is just neutral,
Totally. I mean, that was my Hard Rock day was there was some come to Jesus moments that I had out there. um,
I bet so.
yeah,
There were a lot of those at Hard Rock this year, I think.
right. But like also it's like it's a race I tried for 9 years to get into, and I was gonna give it my best, even if I like in an ideal world I would have moved to Colorado for 6 months and lived there. Like you just have to sort of look at your whole life and be like, this is what I can commit, this is what I can do. And it's okay if it's not everything that I would want it to be. Like it's still an amazing experience, which is
Yeah. Well, now you're in the finisher category, so if you get back in, you can
then
just
I'm
come
gonna
stay
move to
with me.
Colorado. I'm gonna move into your place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just stay with me. It's
You'll
fine.
come outside.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
be
good.
like in a tent in the backyard, like, hey, Rachel.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, we got like bedrooms and stuff. You don't have to sleep outside.
Perfect. I'm there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Before we sort of dive into like the Mammoth and what you have coming up next, I also love that you don't just race for the sake of like these big races or whatever. Like you are very intentional with doing things that excite you and that like keep you just like, I don't know, keep the love for running in your life, which I'm sure you're aware. You've been in the sport for over a decade. Like you know that the burnout can be real. What are some of the things that you sort of look for as far as like this fires me up, this makes me excited about running and about life that has nothing to do with racing?
Honestly, a lot of the races that I choose are just family reunions. So I've done there's a couple of races that I've done a handful of times. And it really is just the people who are there or people that I love. And it's fun to do hard things with people that you love and it's fun to do them together. So yeah, like Badger Mountain, I've done a couple times. That's basically like one of the first big races in Washington that kind of like, haha, it's mountain running season now. So yeah, I've done that quite a few times across the years as a fixed time race that I've done a bunch. And again, I mean, it's a big family reunion. The same people show up to these fixed time races every single year, chasing their own personal best. And like,
So good.
it's really fun to get to, it's so much fun to get to have that sort of tradition. So, and then, playing in its iterations, either the 100K or 100 miler, again, the same, it's a very niche race. So the same kind of people show up for that. And like the race director is awesome. And I'm kind of like a legend at that race because all the times I've done it, I've just had something hilarious go wrong. The first year they give you, actually I have it right here, but they give you like a big rock, which I love rocks. They give you this big rock and you're supposed to trade it in at the end and get like a finisher rock. And I thought you had to carry it with you the whole race. And so I carried this,
oh my God,
like 5-pound rock with me. But yeah, so stupid.
For 100 miles?
And then it was 100K, but it was like pretty hard. Yeah, it's a long way. And there's no aid station, so you have to also carry all your own stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So I have all my own stuff plus this stupid rock. And then the second year I did the 100 miler and my headlamp didn't work. And so I had to use my phone flashlight for 40 miles.
And it lasted?
Which, as it turns out, if you put your flashlight on the lowest setting, it will last at least 40 miles. So, yeah, it was rough.
Oh my God.
So yeah, but that's just fun because, people, and especially now, I mean, I'm kind of, again, at that like notoriety place where at High Lonesome, like there were a couple people who were just stoked to see me. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm coming to the, like, I don't want to just do these races that are huge. Like I want to come to like the races that actual people are doing.
Yeah.
Because those are awesome races, So
it's funny. I feel that way too, because I think because Billy and I work the big races like Western States, UTMB, all the stuff, like the races that I actually run, like I Am Tough, one of my favorite races that I've ever done. And they just like start that one with a like elk call in a field, and there's no awards or anything. And I just like loved every bit of that. Or Cascade Crest. I know you did that one too. Like that was also one of my favorite races. And yeah, I don't know. I totally get what you're saying. I gravitate towards these more like family kind of community races for my own experiences. But like at the same time, I freaking love being in Western States. Like it's the best. It's like the Super Bowl. So it's just like different, right?
Yeah. It's fun. I think I need equal. It's been a little bit more biased towards like fun. But sometimes, again, I mean, that can lead you to a place of comfort. And I think I'm at a position in my ultra running career where I'm kind of intrigued by what I could accomplish instead of just like playing it safe a little bit, which has, I think, led to me signing up for some of the more competitive races. So that's, I mean, I don't know, as long as I'm able to kind of keep running happy, then I'll be good.
It is interesting. And I think that's like an interesting conversation because, I mean, you're a physical therapist. Are you working full time right now? Or are you
I'm not.
off work?
I'm not. It's great. It's great. I'm off work. Yeah, it's been really nice.
When did that shift happen?
Pretty much after my huge races. So I was working full time during Cocodona, which was extremely rough. But my last day of work was June 18th.
Okay. So fairly recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I feel like it's been just as busy. We've been traveling so much.
That's what happens. You're like, how did I ever fit in this work thing?
I mean, I couldn't. Like, Kevin is able to work remotely, so he's been a little bit luckier. But yeah, I mean, physical therapy, like, you have to be very present, for your patients. And so I could not be working right now. I don't even think if I wanted to be.
And what prompted the shift? Is it because of the, like, trying to push more on the running side?
I was doing a travel contract, actually. So travel contracts are usually anywhere between 3 months and like 18, I guess, or 12 maybe. And so, yeah, I picked up a 6-month contract and it was going to end right kind of when the summer hit. And so I was like, perfect. I'll just, because, you can always extend it. So if something happened or if I'd gotten injured after Cocodona, I could always extend my contract. But I was fine. And so, yeah, I stopped working. I'll just pick up as a physical therapist, I'm lucky because I can, for the most part, get a job anywhere that I want to because people are always getting injured and they always are stupid about their injuries. So yeah, I am fortunate that I can get a job in most places. We're also looking into moving. And so I figured, I'll help with the moving process. And then once we figure out where it is we're going, I'll pick out something there. So it was a really conveniently timed break.
That is a nice hiatus.
Yeah, I get a summer break for the first time since like high school because I did summer school in college. So yeah, getting my first
Do
break.
you feel like as a physical therapist, I feel like I ask my friends this who are any sort of like work with bodies, does it help or hurt to know what's breaking down?
Oh, it is. I think it's super helpful. I think it's super helpful because I can tell when something is a legitimate problem in both myself and, like, for example, in at Hard Rock. I don't know. Did you hear about Hannes
Oh, I
Gary?
did. My friend Kim Havik
Yeah,
is the medic at U-Race, so or at Telluride. Yeah.
yeah. So he was my person that I was crewing. And so, really quickly, I was like, yo, this is not okay. Like, I don't think this needs to continue. So yeah, I think having a medical background is very much a helpful thing because a lot of things aren't problematic. You just need to give them kind of time to work their way out. Um, but yeah, it's been helpful. I think more so than it's actually. I don't think I've had any experience where it's been like a detriment.
I find it interesting because I don't know if you watched David Roach's film Breakable, the one he did on Western States recently.
Yeah,
Super fascinating, and I appreciated how vulnerable David was because I think that's really hard to talk about the mental side of the sport sometimes when it's not a positive and when it's like a your
yeah,
brain is working against you. And I just think it's really interesting as a human because I know I've certainly had races. Actually, Hilo was a terrible race for me, and I had times where I tried to roll my ankle, if that makes sense, because then my crew would
huh.
let me stop.
You could just be done. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was trying to come up with
Uh,
something good enough to stop. But just like our brains are so fascinating, right? Like whether you have David Roach's experience where he started sort of like having a panic attack and really like almost superimposed serious problems onto himself. That now he's like realizing he has to unpack, or in your case, like because you have this intimate knowledge of like your body functionality, it could work both ways, right? Like depending on the situation, if you try to convince yourself you're fine and you're not, or just there's so much of the mental side that goes into running these long races, you know?
yeah, and I think that's the most interesting part of the longer it gets, the more it actually is mental rather than physical. Um, I don't know. That's why I really tend to gravitate more toward the long stuff because I'm really not that fast. I can just be really consistent and really efficient. And everybody keeps talking about my mental game, and I guess my mental game is pretty
Your
good.
mental game is great, Rachel. I was blown away by you at
Okay,
Cocodona. I was like, I'd
cool.
never
All
seen
right.
you race before, and I was like, who is she? And I have a girl crush on her. And like,
Ah,
because you were just so
yeah,
like pragmatic and even keeled and very just like, this is what I need. Your crew was trying to get you to take a nap. You're like, nope, not ready yet. And I was like, I really think she knows that. She knows like what she needs. Like,
yeah, yeah. I've been doing. I mean, I'd imagine you're probably somewhat similar. Like I've been doing this a really
mhm.
long time.
Yeah, you learn a lot. You just have confidence in yourself too, right?
Yeah, and I also think too, I'm lucky because I am pretty low maintenance. Um, so yeah, I think I was just when the ingredients came together to create the person that I am, it was just like this person's going to be just fine at running. Because I've always had a really uncanny ability to do the same thing over and over again and not like get sick of it. I remember I loved working in restaurants for that reason because like you can just like I would always pick up catering orders and I would just knock those suckers out in like
It's like a game.
yeah, it's like I don't find that boring. I do find it really stimulating to like do the same thing over and over and running is really it kind of scratches that same itch. So, yeah, it's a little like hidden thing that I guess makes me good at especially the longer it is. Cuz yeah, it's all really at that baseline it's you're just doing one thing. And then just making sure that all your ducks are in a row so that you can keep doing that one thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cool to discover that about ourselves. And I think, like over the years, meeting so many people that come into ultras for very different reasons, very different personalities, and to see sometimes like certain personalities just like do well at it, like you discovered that you do well at it. And other people have had to like learn these skills. But the cool thing about running is that does give you these skills. Like, like you have to learn them one way or another if you want to keep running these races and sort of like
Yep.
be in this mental state, which I just think is really cool because it can maybe open it up to people that otherwise wouldn't have found that in life,
Yeah,
hopefully.
for sure. All walks of life are welcome here.
Yeah, well,
Welcome to our running
and
code.
I mean, I think that's what, like, segueing into the Mammoth, that's what we're hoping to do is like Tim and I intentionally have more aid stations out on course than any of the other 200s because we want it to be something where you're set up to finish or like to have a successful first 200 miler or like not that I very much don't want to say it's like an entry level 200 because I don't think any 200 is entry level.
Agreed.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard. It's gonna be hard. But I love the idea of being like, okay, well, what is gonna make it the most possible? Like how can we sort of make this achievable and that's really like important to us. So it's sort of fun to be like able to design this thing and be like, hey, we want you to get this experience and we want you to come away from this feeling really proud of it. And like we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that
To
happens.
help you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You still have to physically do the distance, which is a lot, but
No one can run it for you, but we can certainly help you get there.
yeah, totally. And I know, obviously we had a very public courtship with you for the Mammoth to get you to sign up.
Yes. Yes, you did.
There,
It was quite flattering. It was
yeah,
flattering.
I know. We were both circling and doing a little dance, which was super fun. And obviously, we were so excited when you finally agreed to be part of it. And I know it wasn't because you didn't want to, you just already had things on your calendar. So we had to do some juggling, right?
Yeah. No, they all just stayed
Yeah.
there. I'm just going to have a weird fall. Somebody yesterday was like, so let's take a look at your September. Your September is pretty wild. It's like, I know.
Oh my
I don't want to talk
gosh.
about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You have
It's pretty, yep.
a race right before, you have a race right after. You got a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 weeks before, and it's only 100K.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be kind of not like that was what I was. And actually, there's a fire out there at the moment, so like it TBD.
In Leavenworth?
Yeah, it's like it's near Plain, which is near Leavenworth. So yeah, I don't quite know where the fire is, but I think it's north of the course. But the RD's like keeping us all posted and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean it's 2 weeks out, and I tend to I kind of have a late. Not tapering is just I don't taper great, and so yeah, I figure like 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks is usually when I tend to have like a pretty big amount of training. And so I was like, all right, as long as I'm not stupid, I think I can actually like make all this happen and not like blow myself up for Mammoth. Because obviously, like after again the very public courtship, it's now something that I'm like, okay, I need to do something with this spot that I've been so graciously given. So I obviously don't want to do anything stupid leading up to the race that makes me like have a terrible performance by like all standards. Yeah, I am signed up for the saddles. I met Mike Versteeg at Cocodona, and he was really awesome. I was like, yo, I got to come do your race. And it's like the week after. So that's the only one where I'm like, I might not actually be able to do this.
Yeah, might be like a go and cheer and support type of one.
Yeah, my buddy Jake and then Kevin are both doing the 100-miler. And I'm like, maybe I'm just going to crew.
Yeah.
Like that could be... Crewing could be better, perhaps. But I'm going to see how I feel,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, I'm super excited that you're coming out to the Mammoth. Have you run an inaugural event before? Like, is this a first one for you?
It's probably the biggest. I don't know if I've ever run an inaugural event, but yeah, this is definitely like the first publicly inaugural event for sure.
What was sort of the thing that like was the tipping point for you being like, yeah, I want to put this on the calendar, like second 200 miler in the year, you've had a big year. Like, what was sort of the moment where you're like, okay, this seems like a good idea?
Well, I think it was honestly, it is well timed. I should be recovered from High Lonesome and Cocodona by the time it happens. Like, and two, I mean, I love the Eastern Sierra. I lived in Los Angeles for a couple years, and I spent pretty much every weekend of the summer and fall and late spring out on the 395. And so it really wasn't a hard sell, it was more of just like a scheduling thing. And whenever I realized like, oh, I don't have to do the plain 100, I can just do the 100K. It was kind of like, oh, well, I can actually maybe do all of these things and like it'll work out fine. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, and it is pretty exciting to get to take part in an inaugural event, just to kind of like, I think it'll be fun to discover some kinks that you guys may have. I'm sure it will be completely flawless,
Oh,
but
yes.
yeah, I mean, but like I said, I mean, I'm pretty low maintenance when it comes to like needs. So I might not be the best person to ask because I'll probably just finish the race and be like, yeah, it was fine. Even if like there were no flags or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think too, like the women's race was also pretty compelling. I mean, Tara Dower is a baddie. And Mika Thews is always kind of really interesting to watch because she's fast. So yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to kind of line up with such like big names in the 200 space. And this is, only the second 200 miler I've done. I've only ever done Cocodona and like fixed time races, which aren't really the same. So I'm a little bit curious to see how I do on a course that isn't the one I know. So there are a couple factors.
That's interesting because all of you are going into it with the same playing field, right? Like no one's really been out on the course
No
and
one's done it.
yeah, which
Yeah.
I kind of
If
love.
only Sally had signed up. Yeah, if Sally signed up, she might kill
Yeah.
us because she actually knows.
Right? Yeah. I mean, even when we're trying to set the like predicted fastest times, Tim and I have changed it like 5 times because we're like, but it's going to run really fast, but they've been running for 180 miles. We don't know, like there's all these
Right.
things of like, we don't know exactly how fast it's going to
Yeah,
go.
weather is a huge, I've found like the biggest predictor. And, I could be like, oh yeah, I want to sub 70 at Cocodona and then it's 115. Like that's out the window now because that's just not going to be wise. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's pretty hard. I would like to, I mean, I'll tell you my goal for
Hmm.
Mammoth. I would like to sub 50.
That's
I think
good.
that's manageable.
We just set
Yeah,
that as,
but
yeah, I think we put the over under on like 47 hours. So come and get it.
okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll try. I mean, I think I was looking at, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the eastern portion of the course. I need to get out there and like check it out.
Yeah, the Glass Mountains are really cool because they are super remote.
Yeah,
No one goes out there.
I don't know. Yeah, I have never been out there. But yeah, I mean, I know June Lake, I know Convict Lake, obviously Mammoth, I'm like familiar with. So I'm sitting here going like, oh yeah, sub 50, and I'm like, oh my god, Mammoth. Like Mammoth is not
Twice.
easy to run. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I do need to get out there at some point and like check it all out. But yeah, that's what August is for.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I'll be out there in August
So
too.
yeah, I'll just roast in the Glass Mountains in August. I'm sure it'll be hot.
It will be hot. But yeah, no, I mean, we're so excited to have like you and Mika and Tara all going for it because I do feel like there's so much just sort of like, yeah, you want to race the course, but you don't know what the course is going to do exactly. And so you do sort of have to race the field a bit, right? And be a little strategic in how you approach that part of it, which is fun.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. And I mean, who knows? There could be some like random baller that signed up.
There,
I mean, I was the random baller of Cocodona last year,
there's a couple
so
crushers.
anything can happen.
There's a couple
Yeah,
like
anything can happen.
FKT women that are coming out that are sort of like, don't sleep on them.
And I mean, honestly, we kind of talked about this before, but the men's field is pretty interesting too. Like, I wouldn't mind an opportunity to race Jeff Browning again.
Hmm.
Like, sounds good to me. Or like run again, run with him and see how much I can keep up. I was hoping to do that at High Lonesome, but then he got injured at States.
Yeah.
Because I just remember like watching his 2024 Cocodona and just being like, holy crap, like they are so fast. And then I ran this year and I was like, wait a second, like I would have been right there.
Mm.
Like had I so yeah, I'm a little interested to see, taking that mindset into other races. And that's kind of what I did with High Lonesome is like, listen, I'm not just racing, like I'm racing everybody. Like we can choose to race everybody. Like we
Yeah.
can race anybody that we want to.
Well,
I choose to race everybody.
and to be honest, I think that the top men and the top women at the Mammoth are going to be running like in the same sort of pack. Like I think it's going to be very close because
Yeah,
nobody has a benchmark on the times, no one has splits, nobody has anything. And like you
yeah,
said, if you compare your times at Cocodona to the guys, it's so similar. I'm super excited. I think that there's going to be a lot of sort
yeah,
of plays happening with both. And I wouldn't
yeah.
be
I think it'll be
surprised.
fun.
Yeah, I think the overall podium will be a mixed podium. That's my
I
prediction.
hope so. I would, dude. I swear to God, if I get fourth overall one more time, I'm gonna like
Oh my
rip
gosh.
my hair out.
That's so
Because
funny you
like I
say
don't. I
that.
mean, I really don't. It's like I really don't care, you know. Because I
Yeah.
mean, God, fourth overall, that's amazing. But Kevin was like, Rachel, like if you had been smarter about this, like you could have been third
Oh
at High
man.
Lonesome. And I thought that the guy was so much farther in front of me than he actually was. He was only 4 minutes in front of me. I didn't know that. I could have run faster if I'd known that. I don't know. But he was telling me that I need a crew, and I was like, man, I don't want a crew or pacers or something. But that probably would have helped. I think that was maybe the
Light a
perhaps an
fire.
error in my judgment. Don't tell Kevin. I'm sure he'll listen to this later, and I'll probably be there, and he'll be like, there's a lot of people that don't need to listen to this podcast.
Are you gonna have crew and pacers for the Mammoth?
I am, yeah. I'm usually not a big pacer person unless it's an issue of like safety. And I mean, 200s for me are still pretty new. Like, I don't quite know how my brain is going to
Hmm.
act. So, yeah, if I ever were to get into hard rock, which I would love to do,
Come on,
but yeah,
Dale.
come on, Dale. I can speak French if you want. I don't care. But yeah. So if I were to get into a race like hard rock or, honestly, like High Lonesome, if I hadn't experienced the mountains so much, like I might have considered a pacer for that, just from a safety perspective. But I don't know. I like running on my own because it does feel very powerful, and it does feel like, I did this myself.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't need to rely on somebody else to keep me alive, which is fine. I will during certain races, obviously. Like for example, Mammoth, I'm probably going to need someone to babysit me a little. But yeah, so I am planning on having pacers and crew. It's probably going to be pretty similar in composition to what I have had at Cocodona. So like the same faces, because I've now had crew at races exactly twice, and it has been mostly the same people. So
I mean, whoever was crewing you at Cocodona, they were dialed. You had a good crew out there.
oh, they were great. Yeah, Gus is gonna be busy doing I don't know, some work thing or something. So, but Jake is game and Kevin is game, and I just need to. I think I want to get three. I think three feels like a good number. I had four at Cocodona, and then I had five the first year. But yeah, I think three feels good.
I know you've sort of played around with the sleeping, and that's always the big question people ask about these races. Do you feel like for this one you're gonna try to plan it at all, or are you just gonna wing it?
No, I'm gonna wing it. I think my sleep strategy is always try to hold off as long as you can. I've done a couple fixed time races that are 48 hours where I have not slept during them. So I know that I can do it while still moving efficiently. But if it does start to affect how efficiently I'm able to move forward, then and I'm sleepy, then it's time to take a nap. So that'll be my plan. Is just whatever happens, I'm gonna deal with it then.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to me like honestly during Hard Rock, because I was out there for so long, I did a couple of like
Yeah,
ditch naps for my crew
yeah.
told me they were giving me 5 minutes. They gave me four, which is rude, but I actually fell asleep and snored like I was out.
Oh, it's
And it
great.
lasts for a
Yeah,
while. Like that's
it does.
maximum value, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it does. It
So
does. I didn't plan any sleep at Cocodona. Actually, really either year. But last year, or I guess like this past iteration particularly, yeah, I just was like, I feel fine. Like I'm just gonna keep going as long as I can, without sleeping. And then the sleep that I did have, the first time I fell asleep, it was not planned. I just like laid down to. I think somebody was looking at my feet, and like I just laid down and passed out, and was like, all right, well, that's the sleep we're getting then.
yeah, I think that's sort of the way to go. I mean, we do have sleep stations set up at the Mammoth, but trying to time it is hard. And I think sometimes maybe people put more pressure on themselves than they need to, of like, I must sleep
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and I think the more comfortable it is, the I'm not gonna want to leave, so I just need to fall asleep on the ground. So
Totally. Just
yeah,
the bare necessities. Oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk to you forever. I'm so excited for you coming out to the Eastern Sierra, to the Mammoth. And just like, yeah, I don't know, Rachel, I think you're an awesome ambassador for the sport, for women, for just sort of like going out there and doing these things and doing them in a way that's sustainable, feels refreshing, doesn't feel like you're just focus on the performance. Like you really are getting a lot of joy out of it, which I think is like something I always try to keep in the forefront for me. And I think it's super important. So I think you're really cool. It's like super,
Thanks.
yeah.
I think you're
Oh,
cool.
it's also crazy.
Yay, let's fangirl over each
Oh,
other.
I know. No, but I love it. It's like just, seeing more women like you out there crushing it is like what we need. And it's exciting to follow your journey and interesting too, because I do think you're at a place where you're sort of at a crossroads as far as like the professionalization of
No.
where you go from here. And I'm sure it's on your
Yeah.
mind a lot.
Constantly. Yeah. I am definitely at it. I felt like I was at this point last year too. And then enough time passed where I was like, all right, well, I clearly am not here yet. But then, yeah, after Cocodona, I mean, having suddenly like thousands and thousands of, I remember turning my phone off airplane mode the day Cocodona ended and just being like, okay, like I'm about to crash my own phone. It was wild the amount of people that like suddenly were paying attention to what I was doing. It's definitely, yeah, it's an interesting time for sure.
Yeah, I love it too. Even after Hard Rock, I think the live streams really do invite a lot more people into the journey, and that's really special. And ultimately, like, I don't know, my hope, and I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but like it's really hopefully you want to inspire other people to get out there and try to do it too, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's the best sport in the world.
Yeah,
So
really is. Like Debo says, best sport in the world.
yeah, it is. It is. I totally am in for that saying.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to sanding your deck since I know that's what you
Oh,
were.
thank you. I know all my batteries are probably charged now. I'm super. I told Kevin because, like I said, we're trying to like sell the place that we're in right now. And he's like, yeah, we need to paint all these things and sand all these things. And I was like, bro, this is my love language. Like, I love doing projects that like I can see the progression of my work. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this freaking deck today. Like
Yes.
that is happening. He told me I was good after like 40 minutes of working. I was like, Kevin, gross. Like
The ultra
I will finish
mindset.
it. Yeah, what is this? Yeah, so I'm excited.
Well,
Yeah, and now it's been like an hour, so now my batteries are charged,
perfect. That's
which is
great.
great.
We planned this
Yeah. So thank
perfectly.
you for this.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, thank
you.
you for this introduction. I needed one.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. That was an incredible chat. Rachel is such a gift and a joy, and you just can't help but feel like running when you talk to her, right? Like she really does have an amazing ability to put things in perspective and to appreciate the heck out of the ability she has to get out the door and run. And sometimes it can be really simple. Sometimes it's just putting your shoes on and going for it and believing in yourself and also not taking yourself too seriously, which is something I think we can all remember in life. So really love this chat with Rachel. Also, special thank you to Osprey for being our longest standing supporter of the podcast, and they continue to be a huge part of our support for the podcast. You can head to osprey.com to check out all the latest packs for your adventures. You can also find us on Spotify at the Trail Network Pod or on Instagram. We love hearing from you guys. We also love suggestions of guests that we should have on or questions that you might have about your own running journey. So send us a note, and it really does fire us up to hear from you guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm Hilary Yang, and this is the Trail Network Podcast.